Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to be here today with Marni Battista. She is an entrepreneur, a transformational coach, a podcast host, and now, as of today, she is author of the brand new book, Your Radical Living Challenge: 7 Questions for Leading a Meaningful Life. Out today, already top ranked on the Amazon charts. It is such an important read. We all need this book right now. And Marni is going to share a little bit about her journey of resilience and reinvention and how she came to write this book. But I just want to say, she found herself questioning everything she knew about success and fulfillment, especially as it relates to our societal norms. And I feel there are a lot of people today out there that are feeling this right now. I have certainly felt this in 2025, and we're only 1 month into the year. So if that's for you, I want you to stick around today to hear this incredible conversation. Marni, welcome. Congrats. I am so happy to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here and share the mission.
Yes. So we're going to flow in our conversation, but I first want to just start on, hey, it's book launch day. I know it has been a journey for you. How does it feel to finally have your book birthed to the world?
Well, I have walked through many bookstores in my 58 years, and every time I walked by one, I had this picture of my book in a bookstore. A book. I just knew I was meant to do this work. Like, it's this expression in my soul. So this morning when I went to the bookstore and there it was like, wow, this is the power of intention and creation and really going for your dreams. And so I'm not famous, you know what I mean? Like, anyone can do whatever dream they have if they just take small intentional action.
Oh, okay. I already have chills. Let's stop there for those listening. The power of intention. There you are. And you're like, I did this. You visualized it. You saw it. Here it is. Already topping the charts. You already have so many incredible reviews. Can't wait to dive in further. So let's start with the beginning. The inspiration behind this book. And I mentioned in the intro, you have a story. You have quite a story of several things that happened in your life. I'd love for you to share what happened that led you to write this book.
Well, it all started with a ski accident. It was 2020, right before everyone was hoarding toilet paper. Perfect powder day. I was with a friend, and she said this way, and there was another way. I hesitated and I just went flying down the mountain, completely out of control. I wiped out so badly. I couldn't move. And 7 breaks in my sacrum, laying there, staring up at the trees. It hit me. This isn't just about skiing. This is a metaphor for my life. I was racing toward goals. I wasn't even sure I cared about. I was following, everyone else in the shoulds. I hadn't stopped to ask, like, what do I want? What do I care about? And that moment changed everything for me.
Wow. I mean, thank God you were okay. And also for you to have that awareness that, oh shit, or shoot, this is something that this is a moment of reckoning for you. And talk to me about what it led to this radical self-discovery, this whole new way of living. So what happened next?
Well, so obviously as a result, I had to slow down. So I was on bed rest basically by the time it got properly diagnosed for about 9 weeks. And so in that slowdown, I couldn't perform, I couldn't achieve. It wasn't like I was laying in bed, eating bonbons and reading and writing. And working. I couldn't literally move. So in that space, I started asking big, uncomfortable questions that ultimately helped me to design a life I had to break so that I could build a new foundation for my life. And then I distilled those questions into these 7 spiritual questions that I discovered at a sermon that are from the ancient Talmudic text. And these questions are designed to help anyone start to look at redefining success on their own terms in a brand new paradigm and start living a life that truly lights them up, that is the sparkle and magic in their expression of living.
And it's the way you live now, so authentically, having, worked with you and known you. And before we go into that transformation, I want to bring it back to the Marni before, because I think a lot of us can relate to this. chasing the goals, right? Exhausting ourselves, trying to keep up with everyone.
Yep.
What what did that look like for you? Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah. So I came into my career. I was divorced. I was a nursery school teacher making $24,000 a year. I actually had an idea back then that I wanted to write a book. I realized a book can't be a business. So it hit me. Everything came like, you're meant to be a coach.
Mm.
Um, and I didn't really even for 1 second consider what does that mean for me. I just looked at like the biggest name I knew, in this case, Tony Robbins. And I was
Of
like,
course.
and now I'd be like, pick a Robbins, Mel, Tony, I don't care. Like, that's what success is, right? You have this big company and you're on the stage and I just said, okay, I'm going to build this thing. And I just became so focused on the numbers and the metrics and the income and the revenue and building, never stopping. And I was just in a grind. And the thing about climbing the ladder is I realize now it was a ladder to nowhere, because every time I hit a milestone, I was like, well, that's not enough. We need to keep going. And and when things didn't work, I just blamed everyone in my life. And so it looked great on the outside. Everything on paper looked great. But what I'm here to show people how to do in this book is not to just be rich, but to build a rich life from the inside out.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And I feel, gosh, I even feel the pull too from society of like it's the culture of more and better and bigger company and bigger this. So I can't be the only one feeling like that. I am so grateful that you painted your personal picture of this. And I know your book is all about breaking free from these societal norms and just redefining what success looks like, because society says, you go to college, you get the job, you get the 401k, you have the family, you buy the house, right? That's a societal norm. So how do you see these 7 questions helping readers do exactly that? Redefining success on our own terms. What does that look like?
Well, here's the thing. The first step is really getting in touch with what I call truly blows your hair back, and deciding to, one step at a time, screw the should life, right? So really looking at what makes you come alive, because the truth is, Ashley, that fear pulls us away over our lifetime of those things that light us up. So what I teach in the book is how to tune into your unique soul's design. And this is where soul mapping comes in.
Yep.
And it's a process that I walk people through in the book of identifying the patterns and passions that energize you today, so that you can start aligning your life with those things. And when you're living in alignment, and this is what's so beautiful about it, this confidence, this energetic vibration, this frequency, if you're into that sort of language, comes naturally because, and this is huge, you're no longer fighting yourself.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
Right. So this isn't about eliminating fear. You will never eliminating fear. Like taking a leap, pivoting, being radical is not about eliminating fear. It's about building a life that is so authentically yours that fear is no longer in the driver's seat.
Oh, I love this so much. And I'm curious, you said, really think about it's this unique soul design and what truly blows your hair back. When you were recovering in bed and you're thinking like, what really blows your hair back? What did you discover about yourself?
Well, I love that question, because so I thought about it, right? So what did I do? I couldn't help myself. I went online. Best 20, best places to retire in, like things to do as an empty nester, other ideas for. And so what that does is you are limited by the consciousness and the thoughts that you have today. The soul mapping process and tuning in, it allows you to actually pull out the unconscious. So I lived in LA. I was thinking, move to Palm Springs. That's what everyone does. Do you know what I mean? You get the house in Palm Springs, you go to the desert.
Oh yeah.
Right. So and I can tell you when you want, like what ended up happening, but my life today, I could have never thought of it. The process of life design based on the Stanford design thinking model, which I adapted for this, it allows you to design the best product ever. The product is your ideal life. You are the user. you have to go through a process. Products aren't born by just thinking and making a decision and creating. Humans can't predict what's going to make them happy. You have to go through this process. And the cool thing is the process is in itself will add joy, fun, and make you feel enlivened. You'll look 10 years younger. All of those things we want. Sleep better, all
Who
those
doesn't
things,
want that? Okay,
right?
I was going to ask about the process because, sometimes having been on my own healing journey, sometimes the process can be painful, but this is not the case for what you're saying.
Well, so here's the thing. There is what I call the newfound gap. Or Joan Borsinko, who's a famous PhD thinker, calls it the liminal space, right? It's the space between what was and what we are becoming.
Yes.
And in the book, I share this story of being on the Appalachian Trail and getting to this point on a hike called the Newfound Gap. And I had this huge realization because at this point in the trail, on one side is one state, Tennessee, the other side is one of the Carolinas. And I realized, like I am in the middle. That is challenging, right? So the spiritual questions, and that's why this fits together like this. The spiritual questions are the heart set and mindset around really going through the process of change from a place of wholeheartedness and joy. The design thinking framework is the skill set. Put all those together, and it is the transformation that you go through that also adds the joy and meaning and fulfillment in your life.
Yes. And what a transformation that you have gone through. And I will say, we were talking before this, and you're saying how like friends are commenting how this isn't just a self-help book. When I read it, that's exactly how I felt too. So for anyone out there, like this truly is a book about transformation and carving the path on your own terms. Marni, my question here is, you had a horrible accident to get to this point. For those folks that may not have had an accident yet, but they're like wanting to, like when I wrote my book too, it's like, oh, Ashley, but I didn't have all that crazy trauma you have. So what do you say to someone who's like, I don't want to wait for that? How can they get started radically living today?
So the radical living movement is not about reckless living. It's about stepping outside of the shoulds that you have in your life. And those shoulds can be like, I need to say yes to every invitation. I'm too old to make new friends. I should wait to travel until. I can't do this until my elderly parents are. Like, we have so many self-imposed limitations. Radical living is about really looking at what are the experiences and how you want to show up for your life and defining how you do that in a way that is on your own terms. When my dad died in 2019, this was the beginning of sort of like me starting to realize, like, I loved my dad. He was my best friend. I was like, I am the matriarch. What do I leave behind in the ancestral generational shoulds? And what will I bring forward to pass on to a new generation? And that is a conscious, intentional choice. And we all love, I'm a mom of 3. We all hear our mother's voices or someone's voices in our head telling us what we should do. Absolutely. If we can create freedom from that and make conscious choices, that's living radical in 2025.
I love that. And I'm all on board. I wonder how, when you started living on your terms, how it was received by others in your community and loved ones, because I know it when I had my own transformation, not everybody was really on board to this like new Ashley. I'm on board, but I'm curious how it was received for you, and what do you do if there is resistance amongst your loved ones, friends, family, and community?
So I call that the, oh my God, that's crazy tribe in your life. I'll share a very quick story. So what we ended up doing over the process of doing different experiments is we ended up selling our home in Los Angeles after 25 years and living in an RV for a year. And I'll never forget, I was talking to the parent of someone one of my daughters was dating. And I told her, we're selling the house. And she looked at me and she goes, are you crazy? Don't you know they come back? Why are you selling your house? Your kids will come back. And I remember thinking, like, I can't wait and live my life waiting for my kids to come back in the emotional museum of my past. And I think that the older we get, we have a tendency to do that. We long for the days that were, and we stop imagining the days that can be. And
Yeah.
so when the people in your life who are living the should life are surprised by your choices, it's okay, because part of the evolution of your soul and you being is that you have to remember one important thing. And if this is all anyone gets from this interview, is it is not your job to correct the impression that other people have about you. That is
Okay.
not your job.
It is not your job to correct the impression that other people have of you. And may that truth set our viewers free, Marni, because oh my goodness, that is so true and so powerful.
And I just kept remembering that. And I teach in the book how to know what is really your truth versus a should.
Mhm.
And you start to recognize that feeling and you're like, nope, this is resonant. This is a soul move. And it's soul tuning, and you start to tune into that, and you learn how to be you in a kind and compassionate way. And the truth is, those people are just sort of like afraid to do it in their own life.
That's true. And may you be the inspiration for them eventually too. I do want to talk a little bit more about your truth versus a should. As you mentioned, it's in the book. The soul tuning. How can you just talk a little bit about how do we know whether it's our truth or a should, based on what you say in the book?
So one of the things that is really important is that over time, as I said originally, like fear and our experiences actually mute, or we set aside parts of who we are to adapt and survive, and it even maybe thrive in certain parts of our life. And so what I discovered doing this process, and I see it in my clients all the time, is I forgot almost like who I was when I was unpatterned, unblocked, full of joy, curiosity. The identity that we have, whether it's not good with people, not athletic, bad at business, bad at money, bad at dating, not good at relationships, whatever it is. These pieces of our identity were just simply set aside or muted. So this is about going and doing this archaeological dig to discover and reclaim the parts of you that were, and identify who you want to be and live from that place. And that's kind of how I ended up in the situation that I am, because I literally forgot who I really, really am. I adapted, and then we do that to survive, and that's perfectly okay. And we don't have to keep being on autopilot doing that.
Yeah. And, kind of as it relates to the world today, for many, it feels like it's on fire and we are in survival mode. So as we're living in this survival mode and these difficult times and a never ending cycle of just craziness happening in our country and in the world, how do we really get into that soul tuning when it feels like it's constant survival mode these days?
So the 7 questions are your key to the freedom, right? Because they allow us to be, and I teach you how to do this. How do you stay committed to your vision and your goals that you want for yourself, your society, your life, right? And how do you also navigate through the day to day of being having your soul in a human body? And one of the questions that is a really powerful one is, did you make time for stillness? And and so generally these questions, the story of these questions, just to put it in context, is they come from this ancient Talmudic text. I universalized and modernized them. But the idea is that at the gates of heaven, you're not asked, so what was your, it was in your IRA? Did you leave your kids millions of dollars? Did you live in the biggest house and go to all the bucket list vacations? No, these are these 7 questions. And so one of them is, did you create time for stillness? And stillness is a time, and I'll just make it very transactional for people that aren't woo-woo, because you don't need to be woo-woo to do this. If you run a company, would you ever have a company and not have a meeting with the people that you work with? You would never do it, right? You have to do a check-in.
Yeah.
So when I talk to people about stillness, it's the meeting you have with yourself at some point during the day.
Yes.
Right? As executives, as leaders, we're so busy putting out fires and crushing it that we don't even actually stop and think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not making the best decisions for our company, for ourselves as a leader. This is a huge leadership tool,
It is.
is to be able to create a moment that works for you. You do not need to light a candle. You do not need to sit cross-legged. You do not even call it meditation. It is a moment of stillness. And when you tap into that stillness, you can actually execute on a lot of the other questions and be anchored and resourced to you and why you are here, and to do your part in whatever it is that you call living, rather than letting life live you, which is
Ooh,
what happens when you do not create time for stillness.
that is the truth. And just from a personal standpoint, I was someone who did not live in stillness until, very much like you, was hit with a serious health issue. I was forced to stay still, and it was really uncomfortable at first. And now it is the greatest gift. And that I could give myself throughout the day, multiple times a day, at night, in the morning, breaks during the day. It's where I learn the most, grow the most. I get my soul tuning from that too. I wonder for anyone who's like, there's no way, because I'm just thinking of like the old Ashley that was like, I can't sit still. I don't sit still. That was like the story I told myself. For somebody who's watching that and is like, whoa, 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 like stillness is scary. What would you say to them?
I love that question, because you're going to soul map. Your soul may not want actual quiet to find stillness. So for a lot of clients or people I've worked with, it's like walking in nature, surfing, like being at a cafe and just having a coffee and watching people go by, and put your phone down and just be. That your stillness practice, and I walk you through how to figure it out in the book. I want it to be exactly aligned to your soul. And that's radical, right? Like, just because everyone else is going to yoga and shavasana or praying or whatever it is, doesn't mean that that's your connection point. So
That's
the
right.
radical way is to find stillness on your own terms.
I mean, I like everything in this book is so transformational, and it's also hard for people to break through that more is better mindset. I even today, having gone through a very spiritual journey like yourself, I still get caught up in that. And why do you think that's so hard for us to just not to get caught up in that more mindset?
Well, because our brains have been trained for that. And in our country, especially, I think for hundreds of years, when I look back at my own story, my ancestors came here in the late 1800s. They didn't escape, they came here to create opportunity.
Right.
And they lived through the panic of 1918. They lived through the Depression. They lived through wars. Like, we have 50% of our genetics, right? In addition to the way that we were raised around building and better and bigger and
Right.
more. And so it's have some self-compassion. Like, of course, it makes perfect sense that
Mhm.
you were raised, or you're an experience of fear and lack, and that my wholeness comes from more. Now, here's the thing. I think this is a really important thing. Um, Minimalism is not what I'm talking about.
Mm.
There is a book, and a guy named Greg McEwen who wrote this book, Essentialism, and I'll use that because I think he explains it really well. It is, what is essential? What does your soul actually need, not do you want?
Mhm.
Um, it's not, and I've done so many experiments in the last year to really hone in on that. I've gone for like the most minimal, basic, and I'm like, nope, my soul needs X, Y, and Z. And so this isn't about like, living off the grid unless that's what you want. This is about really discovering your essential self, the essence of you, and then actually aligning your life to that in every way that you can. And so it takes work, it takes a structure and a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
Mhm.
And it takes like guardrails. And then once you do this, I said in my book, like, and people who have read it have already said, like, it's underlined, it's tattered and torn. Like, I'm like going back, I'm rethinking this. This is a lifestyle guidebook.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so Marni, for readers who have not yet bought your book, what do you hope that they get out of it by reading it?
So I love this question because this book is really the expression of my soul.
Mm,
What I want them to get above all else is this. Don't wait for one day.
mm,
Um, every day is precious. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. It's so trite, but it's so true. Even if you're in the winter of your soul right now and you feel lost and confused, the call to action here is don't wait for one day. Make today day one.
mhm.
Um, really start to pay attention to the shoulds in your life. And I'm giving you this book is your permission slip.
Mm. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm like taking notes too. This is amazing. And let this be your permission slip, viewers. Let this book be your permission slip because it is. It is transformational. It will change your life. Like I said, it is so much more than a self-help book. It is a book truly, and you had mentioned it's for leaders. Like there is so much leadership ingrained in this, I think, too. Marni, where can we support you? Where can we get the book and purchase it?
Yeah, you can go to radicallivingchallenge.com and you can order it from any bookseller. And of course, you can also go to your local bookstore and ask for it.
Yes, we love supporting our local bookstores, and we love especially supporting authors like you, Marni. And if you all are out there watching, listening, and you want to take it a step further and you love her book, the best thing you can do is leave a review and also gift it to somebody else. We want to be able to support and cheer our authors, especially for transformational books like this one, Marni. So I just want to thank you so much for your time today. One more time, where can we get a copy of your book?
radicallivingchallenge.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for hanging on. What an incredible conversation. Marni, congratulations. And we wish you all the continued success.
Thank you. Mwah.
Bye.